Well, hi friends, welcome to Tuesday Talks. Thanks for being here. I'm grateful you're here. That means that you're wanting to have more information about how to be a healthier, stronger version of yourself the correct way. No fad diets, no detoxes, things like that. Actually learning about your health and doing something about it that makes sustainable fat loss and just helps you live a healthier, stronger life. Today's topic is I'm eating clean, quote unquote clean, but I'm not losing weight. Why? Why am I not losing weight? So let's go over a little bit what clean means. I mean, people use that term very broadly right now for a lot of different ways you can eat. But let's just kind of go over a couple of them. In general, I think clean for most people would just be considered not eating processed food. So eating mostly whole foods, eating mostly foods that you make, not necessarily eating out as much. And then eating things that are from, like when you're buying your beef, you're buying, 100% grass-fed beef or organic vegetables or organic fruits, and just trying to find the best products you can. So what I first want to emphasize is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. It's actually great, right? It's super good for your health to be eating whole foods, to be seeking really good sources for your meats and your vegetables and your fruits and any of your food. Absolutely. I highly encourage always doing that. It's how we should be living, right? I mean, hundreds of years ago, people were literally going and just eating meat from an animal that they killed and grabbing some veggies out of their garden and eating it, right? And if they needed bread, they made it and ate it that day. It didn't get processed in a plant and be brought to a grocery store and sat on a shelf and all that stuff. So absolutely, we want to eat as many whole foods and from the best sources that we can. And I think that would be considered what is clean eating. However, the misconception is that if you're eating that way, you shouldn't be either gaining fat or overweight or not being able to lose fat. A lot of people look at other people who claim I'm eating clean, and they look at their body and they might be very fit and lean, and they think, how come I don't look like that? I eat clean as well. So I relate to that because years ago I was eating mostly paleo, which would be considered clean because it's mostly whole foods and very little carbs and foods straight from the source and all this stuff. But I realized later on, after I had hired a coach and learned about macros and then studied to get my degree and everything, why that wasn't working. And that's what I'm going to explain today, is why I was eating clean and I was actually gaining weight. Not only was I not losing, but I was gaining weight. So I have a ton of women that come to me frustrated because they can't lose weight. And a ton of them will say, but I'm eating clean and I cut out all sugar. Why can't I lose weight? Sugar is a big one. Sugar is a big misconception for people. They think that is the root cause of them gaining weight, and it's not. So, sorry if you hear squeaks in the background. The puppy made it into here, and I kicked him out, then he made it in, and now he's playing with a squeak toy. So the whole thing is to make sure that you understand how we're gaining fat and how we lose fat, and all of that integrates into that. So in order to lose weight and burn fat, you have to be in a calorie deficit. Okay, what that means, I've talked about that before, is that you have to be consuming less energy than you are using. So consuming less energy, meaning calories, than your body is actually using each day to live, right? To move, to breathe, to talk, to exercise, to do whatever. And there are a lot of ways you can do that. Some healthy, some not so healthy. But a lot of people think, oh, I'm eating clean, I should just be eating aren't those foods the lowest calorie, or aren't those the healthiest for me, and so therefore I should be losing weight. When in reality, a lot of those foods that are deemed clean that people are eating are actually very, very, very high in calories because they're high in fat. And if you know the breakdown of macros, that you know that fat is over twice the amount of calories per gram. So it's very easy to consume extra calories with fat. So take olive oil, for example, right? So many people are like, it's healthy for me. And they're just drizzling it all over everything or cooking in a bunch of it. Yes, it's healthy for you, but you only need a tiny, tiny bit. You don't need everything to be just drizzled in olive oil. And 1 tablespoon of olive oil is between, I think, like 100 and 130 calories. 1 tablespoon, that's not very much. So it just adds up very quickly. So yes, you're eating clean and you're eating healthy, but then you're consuming a ton of calories. You're going to put on fat, and you're not going to be able to lose fat no matter how clean you eat. Every single thing could be perfect. You could be consuming no sugar. You could be eating every single meal is all whole foods, no processed foods, perfectly, and you still would not be losing weight if you were not in a calorie deficit. Now, let's go back and talk for a second about how eating clean can actually make it easier to lose weight when you're in a calorie deficit. So you still have to be in a calorie deficit, but why does eating whole foods and unprocessed foods and whatnot make it easier to lose weight? So the first thing would be us talking about your TEF. For those of you that don't know, that's the thermic effect of food. Now, whole foods have a higher thermic effect of food. They have a higher TEF in our body because they take more, and our body, it takes our body more energy and longer to digest those whole foods, mostly because most of them contain a lot more protein and fiber than a lot of other foods. And so while our body is digesting and working through that food, it's burning calories. So if it's taking longer for our body to do that, we're naturally just burning more calories just by digesting that food. Versus processed food is digested very quickly and very fast and has almost no thermic effect because it's just done. So that's a huge reason why whole foods could really help in the process of losing fat. Another reason is most of them, like I mentioned before, are just naturally higher in protein and fiber, and those are going to help you feel more full and stay full longer. So naturally, that's going to make you be able to eat less, control your hunger hormones, control your cravings, control the binging when you're eating that kind of stuff, because it's just keeping you fuller and you don't feel like you need all that stuff. Whereas processed food does not do that. We all know that, right? I mean, processed food is like has zero satiating, right? I mean, who's ever eaten like a mini bag of Doritos and felt afterwards like, I feel content, I feel full? Never, right? I mean, it's just like, you just feel like you want more, right? Most of that food is actually made to be overconsumed. It's like $1 billion industry that purposely makes food that tastes and sends chemicals in our brain to be overconsumed. Literally, they work on that in the science lab. They don't work to make that food healthier. They make it so that once we're done with it, all we want is more. So then next time we go to do it, we buy the jumbo size, or we just go in for more, right? Like, so that's one of the reasons why, of course, you want your diet to be mostly whole foods. Now, here's an interesting question. Could you lose weight eating all unhealthy, I guess we'll put it like that, processed food and not eating whole foods? Could you lose weight? Absolutely. Has anybody from my generation remembered Jared from Subway? I don't know if you guys remember him, but he was like this big figure that he weighed like, I don't know, 400 pounds, and he decided he was going to go on the Subway diet, and he ate only Subway for every meal. I'm pretty sure. There's a documentary out about him, and he lost, I don't know, over 200 pounds. It was crazy, okay? That's not good food. That's fast food. It's not good for you. I mean, sure, you could claim, oh, it's a turkey sandwich, it's healthy for you, it's better than some other stuff. I don't know. I don't know what you want to do with Subway. I think it's junk. But the point is that's all he ate, and he lost weight. I think there was another guy that did it with McDonald's too. I think somebody listening to this vouch for me. I think somebody said, I'm going to only eat McDonald's and lose weight. My point is they were in a calorie deficit. They were consuming less calories they were bringing in less energy than they were bringing it out. So they lost weight, and none of it was whole foods, and none of it was good high fiber, nutritious foods. You can, it's just not gonna be as, one, sustainable. Two, your hunger cues are gonna go nuts. You're gonna feel so miserable and hungry because none of that food is gonna feel satiating, and you're just probably gonna feel really grumpy and really hungry all the time. Versus if you're in a calorie deficit and you're filling up on a ton of vegetables and a ton of fruit, that's very low amount of calories for a lot of volume and a lot of fiber, you're gonna feel much more satisfied and may not experience hunger as much as you would. Well, I know for sure you wouldn't experience hunger as much. You might not experience hunger at all. So that's a huge thing when you're in a deficit. So I'm not saying you shouldn't. You can lose weight eating all processed foods. You just shouldn't. My favorite approach is to be balanced, as always. So I try to make my diet at least 85% whole foods. So most of the time what I'm eating and consuming is whole foods. And of course that includes to be filling each meal with a fruit and a vegetable at every single meal. I will say I don't eat vegetables at breakfast. Sorry, Mom. I know my mom eats a lot of vegetables at breakfast. That is one meal that I don't do both. I do fruit and vegetable at every meal except for breakfast, which means I then make a snack later that has something else. But there's something about vegetables in the morning with my coffee that I just cannot do. A lot of people love to mix them into omelets and stuff like that. I can't do it, but I get it later on, I promise. So that's one of the things that helps to get lots of whole foods in and a lot of volume for very little calories, and making sure that you're eating that with every single meal. If you're eating mostly whole foods most of the time and you have some processed foods in there that are just fun and you enjoy them and they taste good, that's the key. That's the balance, right? You don't want to tell yourself you can't have any of those because they're so bad for you. Having a little bit of them isn't going to make a difference at all. If you are getting all your micronutrients and your fiber and everything else from whole foods the rest of the day, a little bit of this and a little bit of that is not going to hurt anybody. It's not going to stall your fat loss as long as you're in a calorie deficit. And it's probably going to help with cravings, right? Because we all know that when you say you can't have something, you want it more. So give yourself a little bit of it. Let yourself have some. Don't put it out of bounds like I can't ever have an Oreo or I can't ever have this ice cream or whatnot. Eat it. Just come from a balanced approach. That's how I see so many clients find sustainable health, fat loss and health, is by having a balanced approach. Because when you do the all or nothing and you restrict and you go into it. So hopefully that was helpful. So here's your homework for this week if you're listening to this. Number one, find a good balance, right? If there's some areas in your life where you feel like I could probably cut out, a couple processed foods here and there and replace them with whole foods, do that. It's good for your body. You'll burn more calories just by digesting it. It's just a healthy point of view to be balanced with that. But my other biggest encouragement to you would be to make sure you are having a fruit and vegetable and or both at every single meal, because you will find that all of a sudden you just feel fuller after each meal. You feel fuller longer. You're better satiated. Your cravings will start to go away. It'll just be much more balanced and it'll fill it up and it'll fill up your stomach. And then what's happening is your body is taking time to digest it for a long time. And so for several hours afterwards, it's telling your brain, I'm good. I don't need any food. I'm still busy. I'm busy digesting this. I don't need any more right now. So that would be my encouragement, and your takeaway for this week is Add those fruits and veggies to every meal. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be a couple slices of apple. It can be some carrot sticks. It can be a cut up cucumber. It doesn't have to be this big fancy vegetable dish. Just throw them in or have them as a snack and be snacking on them all day long. Thanks for being here. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. Or if you have any topics that you want me to talk about, leave them here. And I would love to talk about anything that would be helpful for you. And of course, as always, I'm just cheering you on in your health and fitness journey. I'll see you next week.